You put the P in Jedi, right?
The P in Jedi. I put the Q in Jedi. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this is Darth Vader is your father live. I'm James Lott Jr. And normally I don't have like guests or anything. So this is very interesting for me on this show this time because I have two people that I do the other shows with. I gotta tell you, so I was just telling one of them before the cameras came on that our Andor after show is like off the chain, crazy, downloaded show. It's my most downloaded show the last couple of weeks. It is just flying off the audio shelves. And so thank you. I don't know why you guys like us, because no one's watching the show, but you're listening to our after show. So thank you very much. You get that wherever you get your Star Warsian podcasts. So we appreciate that. And actually, earlier today, I have set up the Ahsoka after show. I talk about Tales of the Dead. Okay, sure, that's another show too. Tales of the Crypt. No, I talk about why you should watch Tales of the Jedi because half of this, of course, is Ahsoka related. So make sure you watch that, and that's out now on audio. But they're here with me, my Star Wars collaborators, cohorts, compadres, John Dunphy and Frank Moran. Hi, kids.
Hello. Hi, Dad.
Good that the kids are up past their bedtime, but we're going to talk about all things Tales of the Jedi. So I'm happy to have you guys here. But so you like, who are these people? Like I said, they do the other shows with me. But chances are you listen to all my Star Wars stuff, so you know who they are.
Who are these people?
Who are these people? I'm sorry. I just named you Frank Morna. I don't know what that is. That's backwards.
Yeah, I will. No. You keep it. I will go get it legally changed. I don't want you to do extra work.
That sounds like your. It sounds like your Star Wars name, Morna.
Frank Morna. Well, that does. Oh my God, it does. Frank Morna. He's
Right?
some imperial general that's just like just know nothing in somewhere and he's just doing something. Hog in the wheel of the empire. Oh no. Dude, that joins. What is my name? James Lott Jr. To discuss Tales. I want to say Tales of the Crypt for some reason. Why I went about that all of a sudden? Okay.
That looks like somebody's got a new after show idea.
Oh my goodness. I'm not gonna be doing that. But anyway, so thank everybody in the chat room for coming in. So I'm gonna ask the fellas overall, what do you think? So John, why don't you go first? Overall impressions of the 6 episodes, kind of just overall, what do you think?
Overall, I really enjoyed it. I think there were, some musical themes throughout that called to like Clone Wars of different, parts of the Star Wars universe, and just seeing more of the stories of Count Dooku before turning to the dark side, and kind of seeing a young Qui-Gon, as Dooku's apprentice, I thought was incredible. Sort of trying to, kind of seeing how Dooku turned and like what some of the reasons were for why he became disillusioned with the Republic and the Jedi Council and the Jedi Order and all that. And then just seeing sort of a backstory on Ahsoka and how she got to where she got. Seeing Yaddle, was cool. Even though I know there are, I've seen some things online, complaints about that and how that went down. But overall, I really, really enjoyed this. I thought it was really well done. The animation's incredible. The music was great. And a lot of really, familiar, important characters that we know and love, seeing them here in a different setting that we haven't really seen yet at this point, in the media that's out there so far, the animation and the movies and other things like that. So I really enjoyed this.
And Frank Moran, what are your thoughts?
And maybe I think part of it maybe is on me, having not watched the Clone Wars in a while, and I didn't watch Rebels or Bad Batch. Things I've been meaning to watch, but just haven't had a chance to. But as I was watching this, I was like, boy, the animation for this just doesn't look that great. But yeah, but that I mean, maybe it's because I've been just so not immersed in the Star Wars animated side of things for a while. But boy, I watched it, it didn't hook me in as I was expecting it to. The stories, I agree. The seeing young Count Dooku was interesting. Yeah, and I just feel like the Dooku ness of it, I would have been down for more of,
The Dooku,
because
I like that.
I get what Dave Filoni wants to do, and he wants to balance kind of the Ahsoka and Dooku of two sides of kind of the same coin. I think Ahsoka's is easier to track. Dooku's, I don't know what it is. Dooku's always been a tough character for me to kind of follow his kind of disillusionment from being a Jedi to hopping over with the Sith. And so this, what I liked about this, that it showed me more of a young Dooku. But what I didn't like is I still felt it didn't give me enough to really still lock into that character and how he so easily, I don't say easily, but switched from being a Jedi to joining the ways of the Sith.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So overall, for me, I'm somewhere in between you guys. Betwixt you guys. My favorite position. Like
London Bridge.
Kind of falling down. But that's why I like the show. Now I get it on my shows. I get it. No, Frank, it's so funny you say it, because almost the reasons why, well, look, because you just say you wish you had more. Me too. It's kind of weird. That's why I was like, I wanted more. It's like these little shorts where they go, I want no more. I mean, well, the Ahsoka, I read the book, so I know her story. But with the Dooku, I wanted to know more. So it did. These little shorts left me wanting more, which I guess could be a good thing or a bad thing. So it's kind of funny you said it that way. For me, it just made me smile, going, "Wow, give one of them a series. I'll take that over Boba Fett." But I enjoyed the anime. I did watch Rebels and Bad Batch and all that. I enjoyed the animation. I enjoyed the graphics. I kept writing to the music. I thought episode 6 in particular was a really beautifully, gorgeously filmed episode.
Yeah.
So for me, it was the opposite. I was just a little weirded out because it was like, okay, first, I thought they were going to go back and forth. So it was like, first there's Ahsoka. Okay, great, she's a baby. And then they went to Dooku, like, oh, then they went to Dooku, the 3, and then they went back. Like that, I was like, okay, interesting choice of how to just set it up. I mean, it could have been just 3 and 3, but they started out with her. But I guess you're right. They're trying to make a correlation between the two of them. Like they're both sides. I didn't really get it. You just said that, Frank. So I was like, okay, I guess I see what you're trying to do there. But just the order was a little weird for me at first. But I loved it. And again, it was these kind of quiet. It actually, to me, the shorts were better than some of the series we've seen. I mean, I feel like they almost balanced action with non-action. It was like, and we saw his characters. We saw Mace Windu. We saw Obi-Wan. Anakin, and we got there was all these Yodas everywhere. I mean, it was great. I mean, it was like I like overall I liked it. So overall I liked it, but I have watched the other ones and now I'm caught and everything. But yes, it did leave me wanting more. So that could be a good or bad thing. I don't know. It could be a good or bad thing.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question? What you guys think, real quick? So, because
no, I'm good, John. Thank you.
We don't know. We have that. Thanks for offering. We're gonna move on.
I set myself up for that.
You just set yourself up. You like, yeah, no, we're good. We're good. Thank you.
Yeah. Never mind. I'm sorry. So, I thought it was interesting that we had these 6 shorts. 3 of them followed Ahsoka. 3 of them followed Dooku, and I feel like obviously we're leading up to the big release of the Ahsoka live action series.
Yes.
And I do agree. I would agree with both of you that like these shorts, they felt almost too short. Like I wanted more. And so Frank, you saying that, you wanted more out of the Dooku story. Do you think that they are potentially, going to go in a direction? Well, maybe we'll see more of Dooku at some point, like in some, maybe through some series, or because I feel like it's funny to me that the 2 Jedi that we're focused on in this Tales of the Jedi were Ahsoka and Dooku. Ahsoka's about to get her own show, and we've gotten plenty of Ahsoka before. Do you think that this was like giving us a taste of Dooku, and maybe we're gonna get more of Dooku at some point in a series or an animated series or something? I don't know. I would love to see that. So.
I feel like that's what's cool, I guess, about animation, especially, and the width and breadth of the Star Wars universe, is that it does give you the possibility of revisiting all these characters at various different ages of their life without having to worry about the live action actors, which I think is awesome. So I'd be all down for if they wanted to do something set in Dooku's earlier days and to explore this era a little bit more in depth. uh, it's one of those like who knows where on. For me, I can only imagine on the list of story ideas that they've got at Lucasfilm, where something like that tracks is in terms of being like a series, or they're like, oh yeah, it'd be a great series, but realistically, we're not going to get to it for however many years. So if you really are keen, do some shorts to kind of, and maybe that will scratch that itch that you have, Dave Filoni. But I'd be absolutely down for Lucasfilm to dive into any of these characters. I mean, I'd love more Qui-Gon Jinn adventures. If you want to give me that,
yes,
in an animated series, heck yeah.
That works in both of them.
Because I was told, because I'm a little different, because I do read the books. It's like you guys read the comics from Marvel, so I read the books, and there's a whole you all know all these other worlds, and all these other combinations. There's all these different stories out there. Some are still canon, some aren't. It's just one to say I love this. I'm a huge fan of spin-offs and sequels and prequels. If they tell us, I love it. I love when they just follow a couple of characters. I'll follow them along. If it's an interesting story, I'll follow them along. I just think that I think Frank is kind of right in the sense that they can only do so much. I mean, they are looking to make it whatever, I guess you were up, but they only do so much, I think, at a time. But I guess oversaturating the market. I know people were saying they think Andor isn't big because it's oversaturating the market or something. But Marvel does it. I mean, so I don't understand.
Right.
Marvel oversaturates the market. I mean, they do TV and movies. I mean, I don't understand. I don't know.
Right. I mean, I know that they felt like that might have been like the failure of why Solo didn't do well because they're oversaturating the market. And for me, I don't buy that. I just think I was fine with the recasting, but I just thought it was not a well-told. Overall, the movie just didn't tell a good enough story for me.
I agree.
There was there was still a lot of cool things in there, but it still didn't quite hit everything I wanted it to be. But I can't imagine that's oversaturation. If Marvel can put out 3 films a year plus TV series, you can't tell me that Star Wars fans aren't equally as rabid for quality content.
Right.
I am rabid. I mean, for Star Wars.
Yes. John, I will return your question though with a question. As I mentioned, like Dooku, and just my inability to really kind of just reconcile the Dooku of the Jedi and the Dooku of the Sith, and how he switches over. How do you feel about Dooku? Do you have a good handle on him? Do you buy his I don't want to say his fall from grace, but his decision to move from the Jedi to the Sith?
I mean, I feel like watching this series, like the events of these shorts, like to me, every moment that like because I know where he ends up, right, because of the prequels. So like, I don't know how he gets there. Like, I'd love to see more about how he gets there, but like, that one of those first shorts, I think it was the second one, where him and Qui-Gon are on that planet to save the senator's son, and seeing him kind of coming to terms with like, wait a minute, the Senate.
We're going to talk about that storyline.
Right. I know I'm getting into things now, but like each event that like, I could kind of tell each beat that hit Dooku to like nudge him further and further towards the dark side. I feel like I would like to see more like you, but it was powerful to me, like the moments that they did show. And then, obviously, that whole meeting in the hangar that they have later on. Where he's with
we're going to talk about that.
Yeah. I don't want to get into all this other stuff.
We're going to get there.
I don't know. Like, I'm sorry, James. I just, my last thing before we dive into anything special is that, like with Dooku, I could see these moments that they show here, but it's like I always just like, even in the prequels, I never quite understood like what his relationship was with Palpatine, what his deal was, why he like went against the Jedi, and I just don't know if the beats that we saw in here still made me think like, oh, I get it now. Like he always seems kind of weird to me in the whole prequelness of everything.
I think we are biased because we know what happens to him. We know where he ends up. So we know he's going to get there. So I think for me watching it was I wanted more, but it was enough for me. If you're a new person coming to this, and if you haven't watched any Star Wars at all, you might be confusing about what happens. But I feel like we watched it. I think a lot of us have watched it. I'd be very curious to know who. I feel like the audience for this would be people who love Star Wars and who've watched all. I can see new people coming to Mandalorian, or people coming who don't watch anything else. But like, I feel like this is made for people who are total Star Wars heavy fans. and who are fans of Dooku, or fans of that story and fans of Ahsoka, that's why we're watching it. So I guess I can't even. I don't think I can even answer that question, without being biased, because I know where he goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would love it though. This was some fans' first exposure to Star Wars, and they become just like this total Dooku fan.
Yes.
And I realize it's only the couple prequels that he's in. Like that's it.
Because right. you could totally, from watching this, become a fan, right? You could totally become a fan. That's the thing. So I think for us, we know kind of what happens to them. But if someone's new watching this, it might cause a problem. You're right. It might cause a problem. With Frank saying, it might cause a problem.
You know what I want? I'm dying for an animated series that Qui-Gon Jinn is the focus of, right? But like the first few seasons maybe are him being trained by Dooku, and then Dooku's out of the picture, and now they show Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan and them kind of bringing Anakin into the fold. I would love to see just like an animated series, because I feel like that's how it would have to be done now, unless we want to recast Qui-Gon Jinn, right? Like an animated series just focused solely on Qui-Gon, his training through Dooku. That answers some of the questions about Dooku too, and then like he's being trained, Qui-Gon, and then Qui-Gon begins training Obi-Wan. You know what I mean? And like all the adventures that the three of them go on, and then Anakin comes in, at the end or whatever, something like that. I feel like that would be pretty fun.
I'd be down for that.
Yeah. Let's talk about the actual what we did see.
Yeah,
let's we saw 25 minutes of what we did see. Let's talk about some minutes of what we did see. The fans are gonna be screaming at me, I'm sure. In the chat room, hello, thanks you guys for watching. I think more are coming. I'm curious to see how this does in the ratings or whatever. More are coming. People were sad that Master Yaddle was killed. Bryce Dallas Howard. I was upset that it wasn't Samuel L. Jackson playing Mace Windu, the voice.
It was Ian McDermott was in this, by the way. His voice.
Okay. That doesn't mean anything to me. Okay. People say I'm talking about that Samuel L. Jackson, bitches. I'm talking about Ian McDermott, what the fuck his name is. I'm talking about Samuel L. Jackson. That's why the person they had doing him was not the same Samuel Jackson. Right. And yes, I totally agree. I love Star Wars. I'm gonna start liking Dooku. I know it's kind of funny. So Franklin beats all point. But I think it's actually the other point too. These are little shorts. I know some folks get upset. They were like, they didn't like a lot of them too short, but I guess that's the point. They're shorts. I think they must have made. So we're gonna talk the one through line, which the first one, which is the Dooku's. We already started that one already. We'll end on Ahsoka. That'll be the second half we'll talk about. But with Dooku, first of all, we get to see a younger version of him, which is always interesting. We get to go with a younger version. And like I said, we already talked about recently. They have a storyline. It's kind of, I feel like these shorts like just cut to the point. That's why I kind of like them compared to some of the series that we've endlessly talked about on these after shows. These actually had some story. It was like we're trying to go there to save the senator's son. Yet it's completely this whole thing about that even though they're trying to do something, he did something bad kind of, and he's using the force. You see him using the force on the senator, but the son saves him. But the son's like, "You still did bad, Dad." I was caught up into the story. So I don't know. What do you guys think about the first one, which was called Choices? No, it's not called Choices. It was called I forgot what the fuck it was called. But episode 1.
I liked it. I mean, for just some of the unexpected character choices they made, and like with the senator's son, though kidnapped, still understands why those people were being kidnapped, and still wants to hold his father accountable, even though he still cares about him as his father. That doesn't mean he's going to give him a pass on all the terrible stuff that he's done. So I dug it.
Well, it's funny how they didn't. The people there didn't deny they had him hidden. It's always a cantina. It's always a bar. I always think that's very Star Warsy, and he always walk into a bar or a cantina. And everybody was like, "Yeah, we got him," and he was like, "Yeah, they got me." And it's kind of funny. There was more emotion in him than Boba Fett episode 6 when he just nodded. I mean, I don't know. There's just more emotion. I was more to the senator's son. I'm like, yeah, bigger storyline. And it was just funny how he was just like, I understand. He wasn't even upset. He knew why they were doing this. He also felt like even how he's being held is not even as bad as how their life is. I found that all very interesting. I don't know, for me, John. I don't know what were you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing was it just shows you that the lines of good and evil, or what you think are good and evil, are constantly blurred, right? It's these Jedi show up to save the senator's son that's been kidnapped, and it turns out that like he's totally cool with it, because guess what? They kidnapped him because they're like on, their lives are terrible. It's like it's a complete injustice how they've been treated. Their planet's being destroyed. So it was just interesting to see them walk into the situation and figure out that no, like if we just like walk out of here, if we just by force take the senator's son, we're like the bad guys here. Even if we've come for this rescue mission to save this kid who's been kidnapped, who's the good side and who's the bad side here? Who we like? What are we actually doing here?
What I thought was interesting was the two young ones had to kind of talk to the two older ones. It was like it's a Senator Dagon, I'm sure I used to say his name in there. That it was his son talking to him, and Jin talking to homeboy, kind of like, I had to stop you, and blah blah. Like it was very much the younger talking to the older. So we're seeing that it's kind of like these old guys, been around a while, and so they're getting kind of, I guess bitter or whatever. Well, something's going on with them.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose like with age, you either get more compassionate or more bitter. So in the case of the two older gentlemen in here, they've definitely let their time just make them more jaded, more bitter about whatever their particular outlooks are on. So, I feel like again with Dooku, I guess I'll be hitting this refrain, I guess, again a lot during our discussion. It's like the Dooku stuff. I feel like it requires the viewer to bring in their knowledge of Dooku that they have so far, to go like, like you were saying, John, where he ends up. So, all right, I can see this is why I can see why Dooku is starting to show inclinations or heading in that direction, rather than if you didn't know anything about Dooku, you'd be like, okay. I think if you, so I guess for the newcomer, you'd be surprised. I don't think you could easily track Dooku's descent towards the Sith, the dark side.
Not in episode 1. Right. And in episode 2, now we get Mace Windu in there, and they're coming to, and well, first of all, I want to mention one last thing. It's funny how everybody got almost killed or hurt in this whole exchange. It was kind of crazy. It was like everybody just getting hurt and killed. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah. Oh, also about that, because you remember how there was a point where they were all coming outside of that little barn or whatever they were in.
Yes.
Where the senator's son was being held, and at one point, one of the villagers said to the Jedi, to Dooku and Qui-Gon, being like, "Oh, like we've been betrayed or whatever, or you've betrayed us," and it turned out that there was a different villager that had warned the senator and his guards about where the son was and all that. And even the people that were holding the senator's son at that moment weren't even angry at that villager. They were like, she was hungry. Like anybody else would have done the same thing. So you really see how desperate of a situation this is for everybody, which I thought was, illustrated another important point.
Yes. And the second one, I'm here to pick up the remains of Senator Master Katri. They show up. Things seem a little suspicious, a little weird. And it turns out when it gets to go to this place to like pick whatever's going on, it is a little weird. And fights ensue. And they're taking the body to the Jedi Temple, of course. Mace Windu is getting not Qui-Gon, but I mean not Dooku, but Mace Windu is getting a seat in the Senate or whatever. And Dooku seems a little bitter. Yes. What do you think about this kind of whole storyline? Anybody go first? Frank?
Well, yeah, I I don't know, John, what you think, but for some reason, I don't know, like with Mace Windu, he's a guy that I want to really think is awesome, and yet every time I really see him in, whether it's the Clone Wars, and it's been a while, so I would need to go refresh my memory, but or stuff like this, or even in the prequel films, he's more often than not just like a stick in the mud, and I'm just like,
I agree. I agree, because whenever I read about Mace Windu, like he's one of the wisest Jedi. He's almost as powerful as Master Yoda, and he's this and he's that, and he's this badass. But like I'm constantly underwhelmed. I totally know what you mean. I totally agree with you. It's weird. It's definitely weird.
yeah, I don't know why that is. I mean, and maybe it's because it's Sam Jackson. So you're expecting like this, he's not going to get into Star Wars unless he's being a badass. He's got his purple lightsaber. And yet I watch it and I go like, all right, fun's going to come to an end now because Mace is here. Ugh.
Well, this was my least favorite of the three. This was my least favorite of the three. I like the way it looked and stuff, but it was my least favorite of the three. I think I like the next one better. But I was just like, okay. But it shows a little extra step that Dooku's not offered what he's offered. And that could be another step to his changing over. I don't know, Frank. I don't know what you think with that.
Well, yeah, because I could agree that this is the most this and one of the Ahsoka stories are certainly, I feel like, the most slightest of stories, because there's not really, they just go to the planet, they go to the crime scene, they touch a tree, they look around for a hot second, like, all right, tell us the truth. Everybody confesses, and then we're done. So I'm just like,
right,
okay. I mean, so we do have Dooku talking to the one of the guys while he's in the cell, and Dooku's like, all right, yeah, I could see what you had to do, even though it wasn't the best way to go about it, because you should have just talked to the Jedi Master. She would have helped you. So I like that beat. And then of course, I don't know if Dooku resents being passed over for the council, because I mean, like Qui-Gon, I don't know if that was his main goal, to be ever on the council, but maybe he just thought, or maybe his issue is more with Mace playing, not being totally honest with him. I don't know.
Right. I feel like, I don't know if he even cared so much about the seat on the council. I just feel like it's just another example of like so that we know, obviously, these two first short stories, right, that involve Dooku. Like, he visits two different planets where the senators were completely corrupt. He did the work to kind of find out exactly what was going on. He feels that the Jedi are just becoming more and more like submissive to the Senate. They'll just take whatever they say as law. They'll do whatever the Senate says or requests of them. And it's like, I'm doing the work here, but my partner, who just wanted to leave the planet in Mace Windu and be like, oh, and they hadn't even gotten the body of the Jedi Master Katri yet. Windu was like, we should go back to the council and tell them something seems off. And Windu being like, well, would you like if Master Katri left without finding out what happened to you? It's like, why do you just want to run off and talk to the council? What is the council going to do then? Tell the Senate? Meanwhile, the last two planets I've been on, the senators were completely corrupt. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's probably more frustration with this whole system that somehow the Jedi have found that the Jedi Council, the Jedi Order, who is supposed to be this, this peacekeeping entity that is very wise and pragmatic and diplomatic. It's like everywhere they go, there's just this, destruction that's being wrought by this Senate that they seem to be serving blindly, and I feel like maybe, and then his partner, Mace Windu, was the one that was promoted. And it just seems like just like the combination of things, even in these two very short stories, seems like, okay, I can see why this guy is kind of pissed off right now about the state of things. I don't know.
True, because I do wonder, like, if say Dooku would get put on the council, would that have changed his path? Would he have never joined the Sith? Would he try to stick with the Jedi and try to work things out? Or the Jedi as an organization by that point was pretty much lost, and so really the only thing that was going to happen is it needed to completely be burned down to rebuild itself. I don't know.
Well, the next one I actually liked out of the three the most. The last thing go on, we have a Yaddle played by Bryce Dallas Howard. Is playing it. I didn't realize. I was like, oh, I'd look it up and see who was playing afterwards. It's like looking afterwards. So we got some, some records being deleted. We have the Clone Army. Is being at this time period is being put together. We know that's happening over there. There's also a big thing going on. And we got some Palpatine. We got some stuff going on there. I don't know. What do you think about this whole episode? What do you guys think about this whole episode in general? Just kind of in general, and what were you thinking about this episode? They put a lot in there. I think this is one of the longer ones. Like, they weren't super long, but like a little longer.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know if it struck anybody else or it was just me, but I was watching this. I go, like, shouldn't Dooku be older? because I know still
But,
like
yeah, that's so too. Yeah, that's so too. Yeah.
like I guess there's still like 10 years between this and episode 2. But
Right.
boy, it's like he's still like I mean, you see a little bit of gray, just very, very little bit of
Right.
wolf.
You know, some of us do age very well. I mean, it just happens.
Well, true, but then he just like fell off the truck then at that point.
Well, when
like,
you're
right after this episode,
when you're turning to the dark side too.
Exactly. Because you're dark side, you lose all your looks. That's what happens.
Yeah.
But I mean, and him fighting the Yaddle was kind of funny. Reminded me of like, is this a Yoda thing? I mean, it was kind of it was a little reminiscent of that. But I was like, okay, they kill the Yaddle. Everybody's in the chat was like, kill the Yaddle. Oh my god, it's crazy. But that's, I mean, I thought it was just a very interesting episode. They threw a lot of stuff kind of in there for us. But yeah, John, what were you thinking a little bit?
I really liked this one. I did have that same thought that like he looked a little young, but I was thinking to myself, like, you know, between episode 1 and 2, when we see Dooku for the first time in the prequels, right, in episode 2, that is a big time jump, right? It's a decent time jump anyway. So
he's not buying
but
it. He's like, no, he should be an old ass man. He's like, he's not buying it.
It seemed like it's only 10 years. Like 10 years. I mean,
it's 10 years a long time, Frank. It's 10 years really a long time.
I mean, Christopher Lee was like in his late 80s when he was shooting this.
So early hundreds. He was early hundreds when he was shooting this. It was crazy.
He was up there.
It was, honestly, I did think it was cool to see him going into the archives though and using Master Cypher Diaz, you know, his credentials or whatever to log in and delete the Camino location and all the
I love the way it looks.
Data. Yeah. I thought that was interesting. And yeah, I really like that little part of the story. And then, but the Yaddle thing, I know people have had issues with.
Yes.
The Yaddle death.
Let's talk about it, because that's what I'm saying. That's what everybody was talking about in the chat here. They were talking about the Yaddle thing.
Because she did not die this way originally, right? In canon.
Right.
So,
but is this a new canon? Are they doing a new? Is this something new? I mean, I know they said that saying every book or every story before will count. But Frank, you guys know better than I do, because I don't watch the other universes. How does this work? I mean, that's what I'm saying. How does this work? Can he just change things?
What was her I am not aware off the top of my head what her original death was.
So I don't know all the details. I've only been reading about it since, because I didn't know originally how Yaddle had passed originally. But apparently there was some kind of mission actually. Yaddle was on with Obi-Wan and Anakin, actually, the young Anakin Skywalker, and they were on some planet carrying out some mission, and Yaddle actually like sacrificed herself to save many lives on this planet, you know, during this mission that they were carrying out. And so, you know, people that are upset with the way Yaddle's death was portrayed in these short stories, they're upset because it seems like, all right, you know, Yaddle had this beautiful sacrifice, you know, where she died, you know, for others, based on the, you know, the previous canon, and now in this short story, her death is she was squashed by a big door. So it's, you know what I mean? It's kind of like,
yeah,
I don't know how that works.
I mean, I guess as it is, I mean, I feel like for Lucasfilms, the books are canon until they're not, and because I feel like the books will get, you know, easily written over in exchange for something to be seen in animation or live action, and for that to become the true canon, like kind of like Star Trek does as well, you know, where you'll tell your stories and then that's only as good as it until something contradicts it on live action.
Okay, I was gonna say, you know better than I do. Like I said, some of the Ahsoka stuff which we'll talk about, some that was mentioned in the book. So I'm like, okay, we kind of know a little further on the book. So I'm like, I recognize a couple of things. I'm like, oh, okay, that is what they said in the book. By E.K. Johnston. So I'm Johnston. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm like, these things, when they come and go. I just read that things are going to change. Things are going to change, bitches. I heard, you know, when it comes to stuff.
I mean, I guess that all depends too. It's like, I mean, I feel like if people want to be faithful to those books, they absolutely can be. Any like Dave Filoni or anybody else making a character in live action or animation. But also if they feel like, well, no, I think I'd rather have this character do this in my story for animation or live action. Because I think it's better for what I want to do, then I think that's just going to trump whatever's been written about in a book before, and then that's just going to become, well, it was a nice imaginary tale. It becomes.
I makes sense.
Yeah.
No, I get that. I can't get that. That's what they're doing in Marvel, right? That's what they're doing in Marvel and stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's well, I mean, Marvel just plays fast and loose with anything they adapt, but I just feel like Star Trek's probably the better correlation for in terms of a franchise that started off in like television or film that has now been embraced by the fans, and they've written tons of stuff about those characters, and things get changed when TV shows or films or animated series want to revisit those characters and tell their own stories that contradict what's been written in the books. And so then the books just become, oh well, doesn't count now. This is the true canon. Whatever you see with your eyes is true canon.
Well, it's funny because we do soaps, and we know sometimes they just play fast and loose with the past. Also, that's why I just said in the chat room. I just said it, you guys. Chase history like the soaps. It's in the chat room. Yes, they'll change it to a major one that everybody talks about, of course, in history was Luke and Laura. He raped Laura on General Hospital. They became a seduction, so to speak, and they were so popular. And they fell in love. So it's kind of like they just kind of went, okay, that didn't really happen. He was going to die anyway, blah, blah. And they just change it and they just accept it. Or later on, they'll do something, they'll go, they have a child. Well, they were missing off the show for 2 years. Anything can happen. Like they kind of play fast and loose on soaps with that. So someone in the chat room just said that. Yeah, that's true also. But I don't know if they do this with this. I said read somewhere. If you enjoy the books, you enjoy the books. They're great. They may or may not become part of. I think what Frank's saying probably makes most sense. They are until they're not. Until they just like something change.
I mean, if you look at Star Trek, for example, they had Picard and Beverly Crusher. They got married. They had a kid, and all that stuff in the books. Clearly, we've seen Picard season 1 and 2. That didn't happen.
Yes.
Nope. A totally different story that they want to tell there. So. For that, then all those books just become, no longer canon in terms of Star Trek. So, as a fan, you want everything to matter for sure, but I don't think it. There's no reason. There's also no sense to be riled up if something changes. I mean, you could be disappointed for sure, especially if what you think is a much better story in a book is kind of trumped by something that is less satisfying in a film or a TV show or an animated series, where you're left kind of like, oh, that wasn't as great. Like her death was just by a door, as opposed to his heroic sacrifice. Yeah, it's kind of disappointing, but if the creator, I guess it's just the way that visual information and written information are kind of valued in world building. And right now it just seems in terms of those big franchises, Star Trek or Star Wars, the visual stuff, the you see on the screen, on TV and film is considered canon, and the written words are not held as precious.
Yeah. I think, it's very interesting though. I mean, but you can't, it's I'm sure it's tough anyway, when you have this, they're just starting this Star Wars TV stuff, where it's just years of books. I mean, you can go to any Barnes and Noble anywhere, and it's like rows of just stuff. So I'm sure you can't go through all. Can't go through all of it and make it whatever. So I'll always say, if you enjoy the books, that you enjoyed them, it's great. But follow the movies, and I think right now there's probably what's more important thing is the TV movie connection. I guess is what's most important.
Yeah, true. Because for the most part, you get to think like any creator is probably not as steeped into the novels and the books of their respective franchises as the fans are. Fans, they get nothing to do but just want to just eat all that stuff up, and they'll read everything they can get their hands on. And those creators are like, they don't have the time to do all that kind of research or reading, and they may not be as deep of a fan. So they're like, I've got this great idea. What do you mean it's been done in a book where they died this other way? But I want to do this with this character. Lucasfilm or Paramount, they're going to go like, okay, do what you want, because that's going to be the big thing.
Do you guys remember in the prequels, like when did the Jedi Order know that Dooku was Darth Tyrannus? Like, did they know that immediately in the prequels? I don't remember. Was that still a mystery to them by episode 2? That it was Count Dooku that was like the leader of the Separatists and Darth Tyrannus and all that stuff? Because it, just by the virtue of having Yaddle in this series, that might have been the reason that she had to die in this short story. Because because you could have kept canon in a way if she got hit by that door, and instead of falling into the hangar, maybe she fell outside of it and she was injured and got away or something. You know what I mean? But like, just by the fact that she saw Dooku in this hangar meeting with Palpatine meant that, you know, she had to die there, because I don't remember in the prequels if they even know that Dooku is, you know, this leader.
I don't think
of
they
the
are either. But you know,
at that point.
right. Yeah, Palpatine, of course, knows, but I don't think anybody else knows. I don't think.
No,
I don't think.
For me, when I saw that she came in on that, for me, that was like, well, she's not going to make it out of this, because,
right?
Like, yeah, this is information that everybody would love to know at this point.
Right. Like, I feel like, I don't know why I feel like that first like lightsaber battle between Dooku, Obi-Wan, and Anakin is like when they first realized, wait a minute, it's you.
Yeah. You're so old now. You used to be like really young just 10 years ago.
Yeah, like 10 years ago, you were like 20. Why do you look like you're 80?
Your early hundreds. Yes,
exactly. For also the episode, I did enjoy just that moment where we get to see Dooku talking to Qui-Gon after first meeting Maul on Tatooine. Yep. I like that little bit. And again, that was the other thing. I was like, God, he ages fast then after this. Oh my God. What's going on?
Frank is stuck on the age. He's stuck on
it's just age. They would have just made him more gray. I would have been down for it. I don't know.
I think it's no, I agree with you. I do agree with you. My justification is it's been 10 years, and you know, the dark side really speeds it up. Look what happened to Palpatine.
President Obama had gray hair by the end of his second term, and now he looks younger again. He's like I'm going great now, but his hair went gray those 8 years.
Yeah,
that's 8 years, Frank. His hair went gray. I was like, ooh, rocket. What's going on there? So that's what happens. I almost called you Johnny. I don't know call you Johnny.
All my nieces, close. All my nieces and nephews call me Johnny. So
are you serious? I think of John Dunphy. I put Johnny together. I agree with Johnny over there that it's going to be all about the agents later because it's evil.
I'm Uncle Johnny to all my nieces and nephews. So.
Uncle Johnny. It ages you. Evil ages you, Frank.
There you go. Overall, were you satisfied with the Yaddle? I didn't realize this until I was reading more about the series, that the reason that Yoda speaks the way he does is in respect to his former master. And so when Yaddle's just speaking regularly, I'm like, oh, all right.
I was like, oh, okay. I was like, kind of weird.
Yeah, I was wondering.
Yeah, it's like what an odd choice. Like, I'm now going to speak like my master. I will speak as. I'm like, oh, all right, dude. You can relax with that. You don't have to.
So next season of Mandalorian, Grogu is just going to be like, "Hey, what's up? What's going on, everybody?
Hey, guys. Where are my frogs? Where are my things? What's going on?" Okay, let's talk about that storyline. Let's talk about the other. We're spending longer time than actually the shows we're on. Okay, Ahsoka. That was the other through line. So we actually went from, talk about going back in time. They went back and forth, back to a baby. And they showed us the power of Ahsoka even as a baby. The whole tiger knocks out mommy, drags baby away. But turns out she's fine. And she's riding the tiger because she's in the eye of the tiger. And she has some kind of power over the tiger. She's fine. So do we like this entryway? Because we really saw her 3 different points of her life. So did we like this entryway?
I would say it's not as cool. I mean, if you're going to become a Jedi, it's got to be through pod racing. That's how we have to see your abilities. Don't tell me this little baby stuff with the tiger. Get out of here with that.
Wow.
Oh my God! Yes.
For me, I think this is an area that I'm interested in exploring, because I felt we got a little bit, I guess, in episode 1, and some in Obi-Wan too. I was really curious about the perspective, and I wish we had more of it in this, of how the parents feel about giving up their child to the Jedi, because it can't be easy for sure. And so, I know that Obi-Wan touched on it briefly, but I would have loved to have seen it just a little bit more. I mean, we know that Ahsoka becomes involved with the Jedi. She becomes a Jedi, but I would have loved, give me a few beats on how do her parents feel about that? Are they do they realize what that's going to cost? I mean, that they were so protective of, their child and so worried that the child could have been killed by this tiger, to realize like, oh, she's a Jedi, and now that means we have to give her up. Are they cool with it? Are they frustrated? Are they sad? I would have been down for a little bit more.
I have a question. I have a question for you guys, especially Frank, because this actually is a legitimate question, because first we meet her parents, whole thing. So should they have not done this as short stories? That's a legitimate question. Just like, because it left us all wanting more. For some of us in good ways, some of us not so great ways. Was this the wrong characters to choose to do short stories on? So I get they're trying to do them under 20 minutes, really quick glimpses. It seemed like they're trying to do.
For me, I will say I would have been fine if everything had been 22 minutes. It doesn't have to go the full 30, but give me a half hour episode on TV kind of length, where it's 22 minutes because you have got the commercials. Give me that. I mean, when you've got like the smallest episode was 12 minutes.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, even though that was a really slight story, but I felt like, the last Dooku story had a lot of meat on its bones, so it went longer. It went like 19 minutes, I think.
19 minutes,
So,
yeah.
I would have loved to have seen Ahsoka go, give me that extra 4 or 5 minutes that you could have had, because that was either 15 or 17. I would have loved 5 to 7 extra minutes, and we could have delved in more to how the parents feel about giving up their daughter to the Jedi.
Legitimate. John?
Yeah, I agree with Frank that I could have used a little bit more length on some of these episodes. I think that these were good Jedi to focus in on, especially Ahsoka. I feel like Ahsoka is an interesting one. Like, Ahsoka has so many connections to other Jedi in the prequels, in the original trilogy, even, right? As we've seen now, Ahsoka and Luke end up having a relationship. I think Ahsoka is a really good, interesting character as as a Jedi, to be part of this Tales of the Jedi thing. I wonder if like Qui-Gon would have been more interesting as like the other Jedi to focus on rather than Dooku, because you still could have incorporated stories of Dooku. Like, I feel like it could have been interesting to have Tales of the Jedi, 3 short stories about Qui-Gon, 3 short stories about Ahsoka, and you still touching on all the Dooku stuff in there. You know what I mean?
Okay. Just curious because I see what they were trying to do. It's just like, let's give you a little piece of the story. Keep it short, keep it clean, keep it short. But it seems like from a lot of people, not just you guys, either people liked it a lot or they wanted something that wasn't enough for them. And I feel like that's the whole point. There's short stories, so it isn't enough. It's supposed to be not enough for you, I think, right? It's supposed to make you want
to.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Ahsoka is probably one of the. She still flies under the radar for just a lot of the mains, just the general Star Wars fan. Like, I feel like, our original series characters, prequels and probably, the sequels. I feel like those are dialed in more. People seem to know more about Rey. They know about, Obi-Wan, even Dooku, all those. But like Ahsoka, a character that is so beloved by so many fans of Star Wars that have decided not to just watch the films, but also watch all the animated series, that, for people that haven't done that and have only seen the films, there's still this character that is so cool that they have yet to really discover. So I'll be curious to see how Ahsoka, the series, is received, because I think it could do really well. And I think a lot of people will be like really get sucked into a character that they really don't know about, or maybe they've only just heard about and are really going to discover for the first time in that series.
I agree. I do think it's interesting that we got this sort of origin story of Ahsoka, where she was born, her home village.
Beautiful planet, beautiful everything. Everything was gorgeous. It was beautiful.
I thought it was beautiful also. I think it's very interesting that we got this, knowing that we have an Ahsoka series coming up, because you could almost argue that you would think, let's find out where Ahsoka came from in her series, you know what I mean, like in her live action series. So it's interesting that they chose to do this in this Tales of the Jedi, which has just come out, really not that long before the Ahsoka series will come out. It's interesting that we're not going to get this type of backstory in Ahsoka, to me.
Well, also, I mean, it's like I said, with the next episode, which I think we all agree was the lightest, it was just her, fighting or whatever. I think it was totally deliberate, obviously. completely why they did this, because it's. I mean, also, Ahsoka's one of the few females in the Star Wars series that like is being focused on. So the way it's kind of smart also to get that female audience of Star Wars on board who might want to be like her, and then the male audience who likes her and wants to, I think it was a smart idea bringing her kind of focusing, because there's no other female-led Star Wars series. I mean, Fennec is co-lead on, well, she's basically the lead on Boba Fett. But there really isn't any others. Kind of. I mean, I guess you could almost say Leia was, the girl was a big thing on Obi-Wan, but still she wasn't lead.
I mean, don't forget about Gina Carano on The Mandalorian. So,
yes, so, no, you're right. Yes, you are correct. That's not happening again. But I mean, you're correct.
Bo-Katan.
Yeah, I mean, but they're not leading the series. They're all male series. They are. They're not leading this. Their name is not the marquee. It's not the Boba Fett and Fennec show. It's not the whatever. And it is Mandalorian. It is Obi-Wan Kenobi. It is Boba Fett. Those are the men. So I feel like Ahsoka's the first one. It's a woman in the title. It's a lead. She's a thing. So I feel like Tales of Jedi, that was the smartest thing they could do, was actually do that.
I think they should make a Star Wars series called The Spice Girls. And it's all about a group of badass girls selling spice around the galaxy.
Even I wouldn't watch that. Even I'm like, oh, that's just gonna drive me nuts.
Especially if they're modded. Oh yeah, let's mod them up.
I'll tell you what I want. What I really, really want. Yeah.
I mean, other than Anakin going back to Tatooine and Luke meeting Vader, we really haven't seen any Jedis like meet their parents after they've left.
No.
So I mean, I'd be down if an episode of Ahsoka takes her back to her home planet to see her parents.
Yes,
sure, let's see it.
I'll see it. But we don't know anything about Ahsoka, so we don't even know what they're doing. So I mean, it could be, who knows? That could be part of it. I mean, it could be going back to her home.
We saw Anakin go back and find his mom, and nothing bad happened at all. Everything was fine. It was great.
No, totally great.
Great meeting. Yeah, it was a great meeting on Tatooine. Everybody had a great time.
That meeting went on like fire. It was.
Frank got jokes.
I mean,
back to the show at hand. This episode, we have Yodas everywhere. We have some humor. Episode 2, there's some more humor in it. Captain Rex, his character, Anakin, there's some Obi-Wan, all kind of thrown in there. Her just training, basically, just training, getting knocked down, get back up, back down. This was the lightest of the series of 3, but I didn't mind it so much. It didn't bother me that much, but it was the lightest of the 3.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I kind of like the unconventionalness that you see it in action of Anakin's training of Ahsoka.
Yeah,
he's not following just the textbook of what you're supposed to do. John, as somebody who's deeply steeped in the animated series, at the end of the episode where Rex and Ahsoka go in to face all those troops, is that from Bad Batch or Rebels?
That is from Clone Wars.
That's from Clone Wars.
Is it?
The final season of Clone Wars. Yes. And you know what? This episode we can say is the lightest, and I would agree with it, but also in a way is not. Because this whole episode, Ahsoka's being shot at by clone troopers.
Yes.
And I'm thinking to myself, Anakin is literally unwittingly training Ahsoka for Order 66 right here.
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, he is.
You know what I mean? Like, she's surrounded in a circle by clone troopers being shot at. And Anakin says, like, if you can, defend yourself against these guys, you can defend yourself against anyone on the battlefield. And it's like,
say that.
How many droids did we watch them kill throughout the Clone Wars and all that? Her toughest test was during Order 66 against Rex and the 501st. They were on that ship. It's like he trained her for that moment. And that whole thing, when Rex walks out with Ahsoka in front of him, with the blaster pointed at her, saying, don't shoot, and you see all the clone troopers in front. That's the moment right after Ahsoka has removed Rex's inhibitor chip on the ship, and now they're trying to escape. This is also the same time Maul is running around the ship, He actually steals the ship that Ahsoka and Rex are planning to escape on. This whole thing is honestly, it's funny.
But John, you have to say something. This is different, so you know what's going on. That's why I keep trying to like. It felt like. I mean, I know all this. I watched Clone Wars too, but I'm saying for this episode, if people didn't watch Clone Wars,
right.
It was the shortest episode. It was like she's fighting. Okay, but you're right. All that stuff did happen in Clone. I mean, yes,
but that's what's funny because I do agree with you. I think that of all these episodes, this might have been like the lightest one. Like it was, started off with some fun training, and then Anakin brings her in to train with the 501st, and like, oh yeah, set your blasters to stun because it's just I'm teaching my Padawan a lesson, and it just feels like the stakes aren't that high, but at the same time, it's like. They really were throughout this whole episode. Like it was, it had a bigger impact on the larger story than you even realize when you watch this short. Because the whole time I'm watching it, I have a smile on my face. And then it wasn't until that last scene, though, when Rex was walking out with the blaster pointed at Ahsoka, walking towards this line of clones whose all their inhibitor chips have now been turned on. I'm like, oh my God, what did I just watch for the last 12 minutes? It might have been the lightest one, it might have been the shortest one, but this was also one of my favorites just because of all the symbolism and the foreshadowing. Yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool. I did not watch the last season of Clone Wars, so now I'm definitely want to check that out.
That was the one I started with. I didn't watch the others. So I said, James, start with the last season and go on backwards. So, which really also helped me with Rebels, and I watched Rebels from the beginning. It helped me with that, and then Bad Batch. They helped me with the Rebels. So
really good.
Helps. Yeah, and I like Bad Batch a lot. So watch Clone Wars, kids. If you want to know more, but I'm almost kind of going like what Frey was saying. If you didn't watch Clone Wars, you wouldn't know any of this shit. You wouldn't know what's going on. You wouldn't know anything.
How do you think that day went though? Because they just went like she got stunned. I'm going to say what. 15, 20 times,
sure,
and she was out for at least an hour for the very first time. So even if it was getting faster and faster, that's still, I mean, they were there for like a whole damn day or so just doing that.
This was like this was the Star Wars animated version of Miracle, the movie, where Herb Brooks just keeps going again. You see that movie Miracle? Again. Well,
I'm thinking of Chorus Line, so that's not what. Again, 5, 6, 7, 8, da 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 da. I was like, this like that's something I think of that actually. That's kind of funny. I go straight to a musical. Sorry. Well, the last one, which I really enjoyed. Obviously, we had an Inquisitor. Yeah, big scenes there. We have the beautiful. To me, the music was beautiful in this episode. The scenes were beautiful in this episode. The graphics were in the episode. Again, we have a story. With the farmers and this whole story there. Bail Organa is there. Padme is to be opened with her death. Man, that whole sequence. And I mean, I really enjoyed this episode as we were closing out the whole threesome of Ahsoka. Let's start the conversation. What do you guys think?
I will say, I mean, I guess a cliche is a cliche because it's true. Yeah. But that young kid, the young boy in that village, why
down a young boy in a village?
It's like such a cliche, little just snotty kid. Like everything's great because we listen, we do what they say, they don't bother us.
We're loyal.
Yes.
I totally agree. What a jerk. What a jerk that kid is.
Yeah. It's, so for me, I was like, but I also guess if you're doing a shortened episode, you really want to get to it. You just got to have this really cliche, bratty kid that just spoils everybody's, just fun, just gets everything. And burns down the whole stinking village. And still, even after the whole village is in flames, is still thinking like, it's going to be okay, right? I'm going to get everybody around you, except for the old dude, is dead. And everything you know is on fire. And you're still wondering like, but I'm still going to be okay, right? Get out of here.
Yeah. He's like, see, I told you they'd come back. I see. Like, shut up, dude. This guy just burned your whole town down. Like, why are you still trying to impress him?
Yes. So we had an Inquisitor. She takes down the Inquisitor. How do you feel about that?
I mean, for one sense, it shows how badass Ahsoka is that she takes him down so quickly. the other part of me was like, oh, that was it. I mean, it's nice to see
My favorite-
Clancy
my
Brown.
my
I would like to see it a little bit more.
Yeah.
I will say, is this the only like the second lightsaber battle that we saw that where one of the combatants didn't have a lightsaber? Because remember in Obi-Wan when Reva tried to take on Vader and he didn't even take out his saber, he just kind of like dodged and kept blocking her with the Force. Like the fact that this just shows how badass Ahsoka is. No lightsabers, walks up to the Inquisitor, you know what I mean? Just dodges a couple of times, takes his weapon from him, disarms him, and fucking cuts him down. Like, and this was one of the scarier Inquisitors that we've seen, by the way.
Yes.
This was a badass look.
Yes.
This guy looked scary. What did you think? I know, Frank, you weren't always a fan of the animation in these short stories, but at least in this, right? I thought this looked great. Just the fire everywhere. I thought the Inquisitor looked great.
Yeah.
Like this battle in particular. What did you think about the look of this and the feel of this?
I would agree. Probably of all the episodes, that is my favorite. So I mean, they went on a high note for sure. And I liked the design of the Inquisitor. I thought was great. I was curious to know more about him because they make such a big thing of showing his helmet or his mask coming to the ground and like deflating. We never saw the head or anything like that. So I was really curious what the makeup of this person underneath the mask was.
Yeah, I agree. I have questions about that also. I did notice
they looked at him, but they didn't show a tough.
Yeah. It just deflated. Like the mask just they even did like a little deflating sound. I'm like, what was in that head? What was going on?
It almost felt like a Jedi that's just been struck, but disappearing.
Yeah.
And I feel like, well, shouldn't they not be allowed to do that?
You don't get to disappear.
Like Vader stepping on Obi-Wan's cloak after he cuts him down. It's like, wait, where did Obi-Wan go? It's like, wait, why did that Inquisitor get to do the same thing? That's what that moment felt like to me, which I didn't get.
Now, I will ask you though, John and James, you kill an Inquisitor. Don't you keep the lightsaber? I mean, that's a pretty cool thing.
That's what I thought, right? I would keep it.
Right, yeah.
I mean, we don't see Ahsoka packing it at the end. I'm sure she gets, she does whatever she does with it. But I'm like, I don't know if I'd throw it away that easily. I don't want to keep that.
I would keep it. I
agree.
I totally want to keep it.
Who knows? Maybe she does keep it, and she uses the kyber crystal from that and purifies it, and that's one of the the white lightsabers that she gets later on because she purified the red, kyber crystal maybe or something. Who knows?
There is something though about when somebody from the dark side fires up their lightsaber, just the sound effect that they give it, where it just has like a Kylo Ren, where it just got more of that like car engine rumbling kind of noise to it.
Crackle.
That I just love. I love. It's such a cool difference between the two.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And also, she takes the farmers who are left, the three who are left over, brings them to Bail Organa, and then Bail's asking her if she's ready to join the fight. So we have that kind of ending of her, taking a breath and all that means, and that's how the series ends.
Yeah, I don't know what she said. Sorry. No, right, John?
My guess is that this is when now Ahsoka becomes Fulcrum.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, we don't know.
Yeah. I don't know why she just gave the communicator back to Jimmy Smits.
Jimmy Smits. Imagine the whole thing's animated, except for some reason, live action Jimmy Smits shows up in the last scene.
I just came from LA Law. I just did some new cases with Susan Day. I'm here from LA. Now what's going on? Can you tell me what's going on? Yeah. I love LA Law Star Wars crossover. I love that. It's killed people she can't keep it, someone says in the chat room. The lightsaber.
Lightsabers kill people all the time,
I'm telling you though, Ahsoka, her lightsabers, the ones that we see her use later on with the white lightsabers, those had to come from like purified kyber crystals that were used in at some point Sith lightsabers, because that's the only reason you get those white lightsabers is from a kyber crystal that's been purified.
Ooh, well, that's really cool.
But white is pure. So what do you think with the whole series?
Boy, this took a really kind of Weird direction here at the end, James.
I'm like, white is pure. Is that? I mean, we know that already, right?
Kind of support are you throwing your? Are you going to be going on 405, showing some signs later?
A very LA reference, folks, that recently happened. Yes, I'm like, so what's going on here, kids? But yeah, it's like the Ahsoka storyline clearly is for the show. That's obviously clear for the show. It's coming up, and we don't really know much about what the storyline for the show is yet. Have you guys read anything? I've not. Anything I've read hasn't told us any storyline.
No, but I don't know. I mean, I'm totally like really into the theory that John has just said about her using the kyber crystals from that Inquisitor's lightsaber and making her own lightsaber out of that. That just thinking that that's a possibility in my head, I'm absolutely down to accepting that's how she got her white lightsabers.
Hell yeah.
So even if they show me something different in Ahsoka, I'm not going to believe them, John. I'm believing what you told me.
As I'm waiting, now we gotta wait till the show comes on. We're doing the show, and then they do something totally different, and I'm like, Frank.
Well, here's what I'll say: before the Ahsoka series comes out, I think it would be very good, Frank, to watch Star Wars Rebels.
It's good.
True.
Because apparently there are characters from that series that will be appearing in the Ahsoka series.
Yes.
So you can be familiar with them. I think that the Ahsoka series is going to be awesome. And Star Wars Rebels just really is fantastic. So, and it's a quick watch.
I'm scared. I'm always scared because I was excited for some other series. And they did, Sabine's going to be in, from Rebels is going to be in Ahsoka. We know that already. They did a couple people, and a couple of droids are going to be there too. A couple of them in there. I still get nervous. I want it to be good. Again, I want it to be good. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited about it. I'm not. I don't think it's a given that it will be good.
I don't think it's a given, but I have faith. One of my favorite droids in all of Star Wars is in Rebels, Chopper. And he's supposed to be appearing in the Ahsoka series with characters like Sabine and Hera Syndulla. And I know we've heard talk in some of these other series about Grand Admiral Thrawn. And
Chopper is also in Bad Batch, right?
Is he? Actually, yes.
Yeah, he was. I liked him. He was one of
That's
the
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they link up at one point.
They do.
Bad Batch. Oh my God, I'm forgetting. Yeah. Okay.
That's fine. No, it's fine. There's a lot of series going on. Yeah. Not all Frank. Frank remembers everything encyclopedically.
Frank, I really think that you would love Star Wars Rebels if you haven't watched it. I think you would. I think it's a good series to watch before Ahsoka. And like I said, it's a very quick watch. It's only 4 seasons. Yeah. They're not super, super long. And there's some great, there's some really good Star Wars content, some good Star Wars stories in there. I got emotional during that series multiple times.
Oh,
it's so good.
It was good. I liked Rebels. I liked Rebels. I'm just saying, the animated series seemed better to me than the live action in many ways. So I'm just saying, Ahsoka, I'm looking forward to it. I hope it is good. If it isn't, we're going to talk about it if it isn't. But I'm hoping it is good because, like I said, I love Andor. Nobody else likes it apparently out there in the world. I don't know what's going on, or they like it critically or whatever. But I'm saying some of these other shows, they totally disappointed me.
But think about this, though, James. I mean, Dave Filoni is doing this. He's behind, Rebels. He's behind Clone Wars. So that should fill you with some confidence that Ahsoka is going to be good. I feel confidence, even knowing Filoni's kind of uneven track record in live action. With Ahsoka, I feel I don't know. I feel really confident that he's going to deliver on a good show.
Okay, we are going to do a show here. We're going to do after show here. I already set it up.
Go ahead. We are. We're not just going to do like a one-off. All right.
We're going to do it week by week, Frank. So just sit down, do it week by week. We survived other shows, trust me. So we could do another one. Yes. But yeah, hopefully better than Boba Fett. Yeah, I know, folks. I feel my sister feels confident as well, Frank. Also.
Nice.
Yes. Well, you guys can talk about it when you're at the 49er game this Sunday. So you guys can all talk about it. She'll be there too. She said they're singing in the nosebleed section. We can sing in the nosebleed section, sis, something like that.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I'm not rich. What are you talking about?
Well, her too. There's a them too. There's in the nosebleed section somewhere.
Yeah,
There. They see her. It's
I
because
bring my binoculars so I can see what's happening on the field.
if you just like go, I'm James's sister, then you'll know that I sent her. So you'll see. But no, I'm looking for but I'm looking forward to Ahsoka. I am. But these shorts were a very interesting idea, I think. She's like, go Niners. Okay, quiet girl, quiet.
Go Giants. Go New York Giants. New York Giants, yeah.
Well, Steeler Nation. I know, but no, I know. I am looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to Ahsoka, and I hope it's good. But these shorts are very interesting because they were quick, fast, in a hurry, so to speak, one always says. And they were just like little pieces. And I thought it's more Star Wars content, obviously. And it might have went to the end. So I almost feel like Frank, I would say went longer, but I mean that was the point. They're not supposed to go longer, I guess. They're shorts.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be down for this if they did it as a yearly thing,
Okay.
Put out a few tales of stuff.
Yeah.
So.
But I guess next time, should they pick people who, I don't know, or just like you said, or it's more about just story, I guess. More like a storyline content. Whoever they pick, make sure you're going to do 16 minutes, make sure it really kind of matters, kind of thing. Or that's what we're thinking.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know if I would split it between two characters next time, depending on what the story was. Maybe just keep it, one person, especially if you're trying to tell a nice art story about that person's life as a Jedi. Maybe just keep it to one. But I think it all depends. It's character dependent.
I guess I almost think if they did go to 22 minutes and do just a singular story for like 6 different Jedi stories, that could be interesting if they went a little longer. So
yeah,
I thought this Tales of the Jedi originally when they first announced it and said we're getting Tales of the Jedi 6 episodes. I thought it was going to be 6 different stories about. Me too.
Me too.
Yeah.
Because wasn't that the other thing they did? There was like 9 different stories, wasn't it? It was like 9 different stories. I didn't watch it.
Star Wars Visions.
Yeah, Visions. I didn't watch that one. I heard it's like
Visions is interesting. It's very interesting.
It says like 9. It's just like 9 different stories, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anime.
Different styles.
It's cool. Very cool, but just very different from anything else in the universe.
I'm not an anime person. That's why I didn't check in. I didn't check in.
I would still check it out. Like it's good and they're pretty short stories, but like it's very different. I will say that. Would you guys be interested in like a Tales of the Jedi like this animated, but with a Jedi like Luke Skywalker?
Sure.
Yeah.
Or would you rather at this point any content that comes out with Luke Skywalker to be live action? Because we have not at this point, right? Unless it's been like unless it's been like a Lego. Have we seen Luke Skywalker in like animated?
I haven't watched all the Lego ones either. That's on my list too. I haven't watched all the Lego Star Wars. I need to. I haven't watched all of them.
Unless it was like back in the day, right? Unless it was like back in the day, like when the original trilogy was coming out, maybe something animated. I'm not even aware of it, but like, is there any animated stuff with like the character of Luke Skywalker?
I mean, only the Christmas special when that Boba Fett segment, but other than that, no. So I mean, I'd be down for that because as much as I like the live action look, what they are able to accomplish, I mean that's still expensive and it still doesn't quite look like the Mark Hamill Luke Skywalker back in the day that he should be. So it might be better just to do those stories as animated. For that's a character to see how he starts trying to rebuild the Jedi Order, how he meets Kylo Ren, the knights, his knights, and how it kind of descends into where we find him. I'd be down if you wanted to do a Tale of the Jedi about that.
Yeah. See, I'd be more interested in Leia's story now, only because Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now I want to know her story.
Yeah.
We don't know much. We don't know a lot of her story. I would love to know her story.
I mean, I'd be down to know more about how any kind of training that Luke and Leia did after Return of the Jedi, specifically just, so you can breathe in space, Leia. You never know when you might need to be able to hold your breath really long time in space.
I'd be down with that. I'd be down with that.
Was Leia the most powerful Jedi to never wield a lightsaber?
I guess so.
Yeah, because I mean, she ends up kind of like finishing Rey's training with her. Right. So clearly, she's excelled in her training. So it would be an interesting story to see, Luke and Leia and how Leia came along as a Jedi.
I would be okay.
Like she had her own saber. She trained with her own saber, but as far as we know, she never used it in combat.
Yeah.
But I at this point, knowing what she did for the rebellion and fighting not only the Empire but then the First Order, like
Right.
she might have been more effective than any other Jedi. You know what I mean? Never actually wielded a lightsaber. She fired a blaster. She knew how to do that, but probably was the most peaceful and pragmatic, but also got shit done. Like it really.
Well, people in the chat also are talking about Inquisitor series, which we've talked about in other shows. Would this be a place for an Inquisitor shorts? Would this be a place for Darth Maul shorts? Would this be a place for? I mean, I think there's so many different things we could go into that could be. I mean, in terms of shorts, and do Frank's idea, just do one and make it over to 6. Or I mean, splitting it in half was a cute idea, but I'm kind of with him too. I just make it 1.
Yeah, I mean, if you did like Tales of the Sith.
There you go.
Tales of the Jedi, Tales of the Sith. Why not? Right?
Why not? Yeah. That could be cute.
Oh God, let me tell you, I would love, even if it's animated, whatever. I don't care what medium it comes in. Give me animated. I would love to see the whole apprenticeship of Palpatine, right? Darth Sidious to Darth Plagueis. Oh my God, give me that. I want to see Sidious. I want to see Darth Sidious kill Darth Plagueis.
But see, here's the problem. We're becoming like every other Star Wars fan. There's 10,000 stories that we could name to do this. That's the problem.
That's true.
There's, I mean, there's Thrawn stuff. There's all kinds of, you can throw anything in there. You can throw any kind of stuff. That's some Lando stuff. What's Lando doing? Let's throw some stuff in him. I mean, there's a million stories. There's a million stories, literally.
I'm gonna start writing my own.
You could write one. I could write one. Frank could write. We all write bunches. I mean, there's a million stories. That's the problem.
I'm gonna start writing stories and send them to Disney.
That'll work. Sure, that'll work.
Hello, please take my idea.
And seriously, if you did send one in and it did get picked up, I'm like, wait a minute.
Dear Dave Filoni, please read my story.
My stories. Like he never gets that, I'm sure.
Hello, Mr. Phil Roney.
Phil Roney.
Please,
I'm sure he never gets asked about that. I'm sure he never is told, I have an idea. I'm sure he's never heard that phrase before.
Yeah, you're right.
But I'm saying that's the thing. I am a writer. No, I am a writer. I could write a ton of Star Wars stories. A ton.
Some slash fiction.
I would write it. I mean, I could. I mean, I'm not going to. I'm not going to do it for free. But I mean, if somebody paid me to do it, I would do it.
Yeah, just Luke and Han just in the Falcon, and it's they're stuck somewhere for a while.
Yeah, why not? I just read a whole Han this book series of Han Solo and Lando adventures. They have a whole book series about their adventures. I just read that. It was wonderful. I mean, it's a million.
It says you're a scruffy nerf herder.
A nerf herder.
I'd like to see Scruff your herder. Let's show it to me.
Frank, we still got the Bantha milking. So we got that still going. The Bantha milking. No one sent us any fan art yet. We're still waiting for the Bantha nipples.
Yeah.
The Bantha milking. We have also at the farm, a Bantha farm, and that's it. We got it. And Jenny Trail comes in. He's just training all these Bantha.
I'm gonna write a Star Wars story called "Dude, Where's My Speeder?"
I mean, you can write a story about that whole Mod Squad tribe from Boba Fett and flesh those stories out. Frank.
Oh yeah,
got the one eye. How did he lose it? What would happen? What's going on? He told you that. It's a million stories we can go into. Everybody's laughing at each other. I know it's ridiculous. We'll now end the show because we basically talked more. We talked almost 2 hours of this goddamn thing, and it's not even, the thing was literally an hour and a half total of the show. So we love you guys, but normally we are on the Andor after show, which you guys are supposedly loving apparently. Check us out every Wednesday live at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Time here on YouTube JLJ Media. If you're new to this, like, subscribe, comment, do all that shit. And then if you're listening to us, which I hope you are, thank you. Tell your friends, pass it on to everybody. Comment. like, tell us if you agree with Frank. Tell you free. If you disagree with John, tell us you disagree with John. Whatever, just tell us what you think.
Yeah. Tell us.
At a rate.
Yeah, you better.
And even those pictures of Bantha milking, we're still looking for that. Please, blue milk us. We'll take it.
Blue milk us.
Please, blue milk us. For all of us, I'm just going to say good